Mr. Speaker, sir, I should like to express my gratification at the fact that the honorable member has brought this resolution before the House. I should like to express also my satisfaction that this subject of cooperation and cooperative farming has met with some rather aggressive and virulent opposition from some members in this House and some people outside. Indeed, it would have been a pity if a move of this kind should have been quietly and unthinkingly accepted. I welcome this because we want this subject to be understood, to be treated as a live subject and not accepted as many things are and then forgotten. I must confess that I have not been quite able to understand the rationale or the logic or the opposition to cooperative farming. I can understand, of course, an unreasoned passion, prejudice, a difficulty to comprehend something which you are not used to, fear of everything new that one always has to face whenever there is any kind of step forward. But the attempt to argue and reason against this has not been understood by me in spite of every effort. What are we after? Broadly speaking, we are after raising the standards of our people, increasing our production so that the land can yield better results for the people concerned and for the country. We are after a higher form of a social organization which helps us in realizing our social objectives. There are two ways of approaching this question, positive and negative. Let us examine the negative approach because it is the negative approach that applies to honorable members who oppose this idea. The negative approach is do not do it. It is dangerous. People will not like it. There was be trouble. Sometimes it is even said that it will lessen production. If any step that we take basically lessens production, then it is a wrong step. It is not a matter for argument because obviously we are aiming at higher production. If we do not act, what happens to our agrarian economy? We have farmers struggling hard to eke out a poor subsistence, some a little better, others a little worse. A bad harvest comes and they are knocked on the head. It is worth considering where all this leads to. Leaving things as they are, I submit, leads to the inevitable conclusion that you want to petrify the poverty of the peasants and the poverty of this country. That is a conclusion which I am quite sure nobody will thinkingly accept. They may unthinkingly, some honorable members apparently do, but thinkingly they will not accept it because we all want progress. Therefore, we cannot leave things as they are. We are just not going to admit or accept the fact of Indian poverty continuing or the poverty of our agricultural classes continuing. I have not a shadow of doubt that cooperatives are the right approach, that cooperative farming is the right objective to aim at. Of course, there can be some valid criticism and questions. It might be asked how far the conditions in all parts of India are suitable for cooperative farming at the present moment. Or one may say, and rightly say, you cannot have this kind of thing, which requires a good deal of training. Without trained persons to do it, you cannot simply pass a law and expect things to happen. This is right criticism which we can answer by training people or by creating the necessary objective conditions. That is the scientific approach to the problem. But it is not good enough just to say that cooperative farming or cooperatives are unsuited, being something new or against the genius of the Indian people, and therefore we must not have them. That has no meaning. That is an unscientific approach. And if you accept that, you accept remaining sunk in poverty all the time because you can never go ahead without doing something new. On the other hand, it would not be correct to say that cooperative farming is good and therefore we should have it everywhere tomorrow because that is difficult. I agree that it would not be practicable. We have to prepare the ground, we have to prepare the people's minds, we have to win them over. The question of voluntary acceptance has been raised in some quarters. That too is an odd question. As long as our constitution as it is today remains in force, it can only be by voluntary acceptance. If the constitution breaks down and is changed, I do not know what will happen. But so long as our democratic constitution lasts, these fears and apprehensions are unfounded. I would go further than that. It is difficult and almost impossible in Indian conditions to bring about this kind of changeover in a vast country by methods of compulsion. You cannot. You can pass a law, but you have to get people to work that law, get people in hundreds and millions to work that law. Otherwise, you do not succeed, even if you are prepared to have a measure of compulsion. On the other hand, it seems to me quite absurd to say that one farmer can hold up the whole village and can prevent that while village from going ahead. I do not accept that position. If you accept that position, there will be no law passed by this parliament or by a village panchayat.